Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another YouTube video here on the Go On Fourth YouTube channel. Today, we are talking about the Thursday night showdown game. The NFL has blessed us. They have graced us with just a great matchup here on Thursday night. It is the vaunted Pittsburgh Steel Curtain defense taking on the grit and grind Cleveland Browns offense. Who is going to win in this heavyweight showdown? So the NFL gave us a stinker this Thursday. You'd like to think that they didn't know what they were doing, but they did. They knew. Pittsburgh was not going to be good this year under any circumstances, and Cleveland without Deshaun Watson, they're not very good either. At least not very fun to watch. So it's tough, man. But when the NFL gives us lemons, do you know what we do? We go over to DraftKings daily fantasy sports website and we make lemonade. Okay? We go over to this beautiful site. We put our hard-earned money into the site and we gamble it away like degenerates on a game that we couldn't care any less about. But if DraftKings didn't exist, if I wasn't playing this Thursday, I don't even know what incentive I would have to watch the game. So that's why we're here. That's why you're here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's talk about some of these players. The format of this video and the purpose of this video is for cash games specifically. We may have a little bit of tournament talk, but I don't typically play tournaments. I kind of, sort of know a little bit of what I'm doing in tournaments, but I right now I'm more of build a bankroll, play in tournaments, lose the money in the tournaments, build the bankroll back up, so on and so forth, right? So talking about cash, talking about showdown, there's maybe 4 or 5 legitimate options at captain. And this is going to be one of the very rare weeks on Thursday where I do not think that captaining a quarterback in cash is viable. I just don't see the purpose. Jacoby Brissett and Mitch Trubisky are your 2 quarterbacks here. Captain them all you want in GPPs. In tournaments, cool. Captain Trubisky, you think Trubisky's going to, have a breakout game where he throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns? Oh, dude, great. Captain Trubisky, that's fine. Please don't do it in cash, though. Or do. If you're going to play against me, you can do it in cash. That's fine. That's cool. Maybe I should actually give bad advice in these videos, and then maybe, if anybody watches them, then just more money for me. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give what I believe, what I deem to be relatively good advice, okay? Advice number 1 would be Nick Chubb. Somewhere in your lineup is probably a good idea. That's not to say that I'm necessarily going to play him in cash, but I definitely would have to kind of pry myself away from the idea. Nick Chubb right now as a captain is $18,000 DraftKings US dollars. Okay, that's a lot, and there's a good reason behind it. He is a very volume-heavy running back. He is at home. They are favored. It is an interesting matchup against the Pittsburgh defense for Chubb. I would hesitate. I think as a captain, he's probably going to be fine. You can't expect 3 touchdowns out of him. That's just unrealistic. But I mean, does he break the 100-yard bonus? I think there's a reasonable expectation for that. Does he fall into the end zone once or twice? I think there's a reasonable expectation for that as well. So Nick Chubb at captain, you want to do that. I think a lot of people probably will, but he's so expensive. It's kind of hard for me to commit to that. Najee Harris at captain. I like Najee. I really do. I don't love him, but I like him. I like his volume. I like his passing game work. I think it's solid. And it's sustainable because he did it all year last year. I think they kind of made it a point last week to kind of get him more involved in the passing game anyway. So we'll see if that continues. I mean, he's going to have a tough time on the ground. Like, he really is. And that's not to say Cleveland's front 7 is just overtly good, but it is to say that the Steelers' offensive line is just that bad. And I do feel for Najee because he already is kind of a limited running back. And to put him behind that offensive line is, it's not nice. Let's say that. It's not nice. So Pittsburgh, what you did drafting Najee when you had a terrible offensive line, you're mean. You're mean. You were mean to Najee, and therefore mean to me. As a captain, 14-7, I think you can do better. I think you can do better. So we're probably going to steer clear of Najee as a captain. I do understand the appeal because, what if, they get him involved in the passing game? What if he has a good game? He hasn't had a good game in a couple weeks, so, he's due maybe. I don't know. It's just not for me. Not for me. Amari Cooper. Now, it depends on what you think this game is going to be. Because if you think this game is going to be a Cleveland Browns blowout, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if you think that Amari Cooper and the Cleveland Browns are going to be behind in this game, then I think feasibly playing him a captain makes a lot of sense. I really do. I think you can make an argument for it. I struggle to see a game script in which they're coming back from behind. I really have a tough time seeing that. I mean, granted, Jacoby Brissett could throw an interception for 6. Chubb could fumble, and then bam, they're down 14. They got to throw the ball around the yard a little bit. But I don't really know that Stefanski's going to get away from the run if they get down even 14 points. So my issue with Amari is probably game script related. I don't love it. I understand it, but I don't love it. A player that I do like as a captain because of the game script potential is Deontay Johnson. He's really expensive too still. He's definitely not $18K. He's $13,800. And I think this Pittsburgh team is probably going to be losing. They're probably going to be playing from behind. If they're playing from behind, which we believe they will be, then it makes a lot of sense to play a Pittsburgh pass catcher, at least in your lineup, period, right? Full stop. But again, look at the volume. He is the volume guy in this offense right now. A lot of his targets have been, near the line of scrimmage, and that's fine. We're not asking him to go out there and put up 40 points. What we need is for him to get us some good production at his price point. Because really what it comes down to is if you want to just score the most points or just try to go for the explosive captain, you're going to go for Nick Chubb and you're going to punt everywhere else. And that is a very feasible option. If you're trying to be a little bit more reasonable with your salary and play some players that you think, hey, these guys have a real shot, I think Deontay Johnson works. The only other captain that I can see being very viable is Kareem Hunt. I like Kareem Hunt this week. I like Kareem Hunt every week. His targets last week were a little bit lower than what you would hope for. Chubb actually out-targeted him, which is probably the first time in either of their careers that's happened. But I like Kareem Hunt. I do. He was their touchdown guy week 1. Chubb was their touchdown guy week 2. So, and in my opinion, it really is kind of a toss-up to who scores for this offense. We saw Amari Cooper score. We saw Chubb score last week. We've seen Kareem Hunt do it. It really just depends. I like the upside of Kareem Hunt at 11-4. I think that's a really, really viable option because he's on the field 45-50% of the snaps every week. I mean, it doesn't seem outrageous to play him at captain. You save a lot of money. You're able to do some different things with your lineup that kind of maybe set you apart. So let's talk about it. The first thing we'll do, let's put Chubb at captain, right? And again, I wouldn't recommend in cash games to play kickers and defenses as captain. Let's just say that off the bat. I wouldn't do that. So if you put Nick Chubb at captain, what you absolutely must do is play Deontay Johnson, and you have to play another Steelers pass catcher. I would say Chase Claypool. He's cheaper than Freiermuth. Freiermuth does get a lot of targets. He gets a lot of looks. Claypool's cheaper than Freiermuth by $800. And even though their snap count is pretty similar between him and George Pickens, Claypool's just getting targeted more. And so, yeah, obviously people think Pickens is like the second coming of Megatron. He's better than Claypool, all that. That's great. People can think that if they want to. It doesn't necessarily mean that Mitch Trubisky is going to target the rookie instead of Claypool. It just seems like Claypool is more trusted right now in the offense, and that could change, and it could change this week. Let's hope it doesn't, because I'm not planning on having a lot of Pickens this week. I'm not planning on picking. All right, that's terrible. Anyway, I'm not planning on making that choice. I think Claypool is probably the better play, just based off of the volume share. If you want to go for talent, say talent wins out. That's great. Talent doesn't win out. It's volume, and I think Claypool's volume is there. And I'm going to put Mitch in there because this lineup basically screams, and this is kind of what you have to do with Showdown, especially, is you have to formulate a game script in your head of where you see the game going. Do I see the Cleveland Browns dog walking Pittsburgh, and do I see Pittsburgh playing from behind? I do see that. If I see that, Nick Chubb as a captain is reasonable. The 3 Pittsburgh Steelers passing game players, right? Trubisky at quarterback, Claypool, Deontay Johnson. That's about as much upside with the Pittsburgh passing offense as you're going to be able to get, right? After that, I mean, it really, it's slim pickings. If you, yeah, all right. Anyway, after that, it's not great. So it's tough. I don't know, man. Like maybe Browns defense. I know you've got a whole bunch of these dudes here. Trubisky throwing a pick 6 or getting sacked a lot doesn't necessarily negate these points that they could still score here. So Browns defense seems reasonable. Cade York, kicker. Kicker's viable in this game, not as a captain. Defense and kicker are very viable. I don't know if I would play them both in the same lineup. They're viable, though, because if this is going to be a low-scoring game and a close game, then, it seems fine. And when I say that Cleveland is going to dogwalk Pittsburgh, I don't mean they're going to beat them by 17. I mean they're going to beat them into the dirt, but maybe win by 3. That's kind of what I mean. So this is a lineup possibility. I don't hate this. Another lineup possibility that I've looked at that I like is going with Kareem Hunt at captain. That's not captain. Going with Kareem Hunt at captain. After that, again, I would still recommend taking some Steelers guys. Najee is fine here. Deontay Johnson is fine here. Now we can maybe get some George Pickens action because he's hit a good price point. He really is for the amount of snaps he plays. It's just worrisome with the targets, right? Because he's getting 3 targets here, 3 targets there, 1 catch. And you got to think about the value of these targets, right? Because if you're in an offense like Kansas City, Mecole Hardman gets 3 targets, but his 3 targets are so valuable because they come from a good quarterback. George Pickens' targets are worthless in a way, right? Because they're coming from one of the bottom tier quarterbacks in the league, if not one of the, I hate to be rude, right? But probably a bottom 5 quarterback in the league, if we had to say. These targets don't really mean a lot, right? What you would love is for him to get 7, 8, 9 targets. If he does, then yeah, he could probably have a good game, because if you just force feed in the ball or you just really make him a focal point of the game plan, then yeah, George Pickens could have a good game. I don't see why not. They just haven't shown that over the first 2 weeks, and it worries me because New England's secondary is not all that good. So if there was a week that they were going to really try to get him involved, I feel like it should have been last week. We will see, but I'm okay with including him in this lineup. If we're getting Najee and Deontay, taking Pickens instead of Claypool doesn't hurt my feelings. And then you can probably go for maybe an Amari Cooper if you want, if you're into that kind of thing. And then look, all right, so I ate crow on this a little bit last week because I played him I had a prop for him in underdog fantasy, and I took 2.5 plus over 2.5 catches, and he burned me, man. He really did. So so I kind of hesitate to play DPJ. So maybe we don't play him. Maybe we play Njoku. Harrison Bryant's injured. Keep an eye on that. If Harrison Bryant doesn't play, then I think Njoku, there's a reasonable opportunity for him to get some targets, get some touches. Again, this is with Kareem Hunt. And the kind of game script that we're going for with the Kareem Hunt game script is probably more of both teams are just kind of throwing it around the yard a little bit. Maybe the score kind of maybe more favors Pittsburgh, so Cleveland's throwing a little bit more. You get Cooper involved, you get Njoku involved, you get Kareem Hunt involved, and maybe Chubb is just kind of unable to run the ball against Pittsburgh. That's kind of the game script we're looking at for this type of lineup. But, I think both have their merits. I'm probably going to leave it up until, this hits about 10 minutes left before I actually really lock in a lineup. But these are 2 lineups that I'm kind of mulling over that I like. I'm not sold on either one. I'm not sold on any of these players. I'm not sold on this game. It is not it is not the ideal scenario for Showdown. Most Showdown weeks, I can look at the slate, I can look at lineups, and I can say, all right, this is probably what I want. This week is tough because who even knows what is going to happen here. Who knows what this game's going to be like? We just all know it's probably going to be trash. So we're going to try to get some value here at Kareem Hunt at captain. We're going to run it back with Najee and Deontay Johnson, the two guys that I expect have the best chance of probably breaking a long touchdown reception, running the ball in from the 1 yard line. Right now, we're kind of just touchdown hunting. George Pickens, another touchdown hunter. Mari Cooper, had a good target share last week, and I see him still getting open against Pittsburgh. There's no corners on that team that really scare me into thinking Amari's not going to be able to get open. And Njoku, because he's 52 and I had 54. And I didn't like DPJ because he burned me last week. So that's the lineup that I'll probably, again, be mulling over with the Chubb at captain. I can see either way. If you like Chubb at captain, feel free to comment down below. Let me know why you prefer Chubb over Kareem Hunt. Most people probably will. I just like the value of this lineup, but I do understand the Chubb lineup as well. And I think, it'll kind of be a back and forth tug up until game time, basically. So that's all I got for you right now. Be on the lookout on the YouTube channel because we are going to have a betting guide video coming out. Let's see, this video is probably going to come out on Wednesday night. The betting guide is going to come out on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Also be on the lookout for the Underdog Fantasy video. We're splitting that video into two separate videos because I don't want the betting guide to be an hour and 20 minutes long. So the betting guide is probably going to be 45. Underdog is probably going to be 45. On those videos, we bet every single game. We pick every single game. We tell you, here's a prop, here's the spread, here's the over-under. This is what I like from this game. You don't have to listen to it, but we're going to give a reasonable explanation, and we're going to kind of walk you through the thought process of betting on each individual game. See what tickles your fancy, see what you like. Underdog Fantasy, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about player props. We're going to say, if I had to pick one for this guy, then this is what I would pick. So that's going to be on the channel very soon here tomorrow, basically. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure that if you enjoyed this video, and I feel like I waffled on a lot in this video, to be honest, just because this game is terrible. Honestly, don't play this. Save your money. Wait till the weekend. But we all know you're not going to do that. We all know that you're going to get on this website tomorrow at 8, 7:20, 7:40, whatever, and you're going to play a lineup, dude. You're going to do it. So that's why I decided to release this video, because I'm going to do the same thing. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure, like I said, leave a comment, subscribe, like, all that cool stuff. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget, go on forth.